All right. Welcome everybody to my first ever online masterclass. Thank you so very much for joining me. Tonight we're going to be talking about selecting the perfect vendor event to maximize your return on investment, or your ROI is what I'll be using throughout this presentation, at trade shows, markets, pop-ups, what I like to call vendor events. So first of all, I want to say thank you so very much for joining me. I am beyond grateful and beyond humbled that you would take the time out of your evening to share this with me. I hope to deliver immense value to you. I hope that you will leave this presentation with some valuable info and perhaps, some questions that you can ask yourself as you move forward as business owners and entrepreneurs. For myself, I am Shalyn Van Baren. Many of you know me. I am the owner of SVB Events, which is a full-service event management company. Our mission is predominantly to deliver quality live events for corporations, entrepreneurs, and small businesses to promote and elevate their brand. And part of what goes along with that is this whole component of vendor events. So with that in mind, we are going to move on. A little bit of housekeeping rules. So if you're not muted already, if you wouldn't mind please doing that. We get a little bit of background music or background noise. I'm not sure if anybody is seeing that crazy red line on my presentations. I don't know where that came from. If you wouldn't mind, I'm going to give you the best that I can in the next 30 minutes, and we're going to try and keep it to 30 minutes. If you wouldn't mind, I know you're muted, but put your cell phone on vibrate or put it away. I know your kids may pop in. Lisa's eating. But if you can give me 30 minutes of your time, I guarantee that you will get the value out of this that you need, and then have the opportunity to ask questions at the end of that. So with that said, we're going to dive right into the content. So as business owners, you have the opportunity to market your product or service using vendor events. Again, that can be trade shows, festivals, pop-up events, markets, whatever that looks like. But have you ever found yourself coming into trade show season or vendor season and looking over 1,000 applications, and this is what you want to do? All you want to do is put your head in your hands and possibly cry. There are so many opportunities. There are thousands of opportunities. They could be up the block from you. They could be 100 kilometers away. They could be an event that is for free, or they could be asking you to donate your firstborn child for their registration fee. There are tons and tons and tons on any given weekend of vendor event opportunities for you to be able to showcase your brand. And it is frustrating. Ladies, gents, I get it. I have been in that position, even in the event industry. It is something that I have put my head in my hands and been extremely frustrated about, because there's just so many options. And in the light of so many options, sometimes the easiest decision is to choose nothing. And therefore, as a business owner, not move forward with that potential opportunity of both lead generation and a return on your financial investment. So as part of tonight, I am hoping to give you the top 5 tips that I have learned in 20 years of experience in the event industry, and over 6 making my focus of vendor events. I'm hoping to give you my top 5 tips of what you can do, the questions that you can ask to make that decision the best one for you, less daunting, and quite honestly, as easy as possible. So with that, we're gonna dive in. Okay, so first and foremost, this is one of my favorite quotes. And now I'm gonna have to move you over to this side. If people like you, they'll listen to you, but if they trust you, they'll do business with you, okay? Vendor events are all about people. They are all about trust. And that really starts with, in my opinion, who is the event organizer. So this is tip number one. When you are taking a look at what vendor events, and you have a stack of 100 or 10 or 50 potential vendor opportunities sitting on your desk, and you are wondering, where do I start? This is where you're going to start. You are going to take a look at who the event organizer is. You want to know who you are doing business with before you even submit an application or a registration. Some of the things that you're going to want to take a look at, some of the questions you're going to want to ask yourself are, what are their relevant credentials? In the event industry, unfortunately, we are not a regulated industry. Therefore, it means that anyone can call themselves an event planner. That is a 80-year-old woman who has just organized for the first time her 50th anniversary. That could be a mom who has just organized a first birthday party, or that could be someone like myself who has done major corporate events, nonprofit fundraisers, massive trade show events, etc. Further to that, I will give you the pointer that there are a few certifications that event planners can hold. Not many in the trade show industry or vendor event industry will hold these credentials, but one of them is a certified meeting planner, and you will see CMP behind that planner's name, or a certified special event. Yes, so a certified special event planner, CSE, okay? But those are things that you're gonna wanna look for. These things take minutes. I want to reiterate that. They take minutes to source out, right? An easy Google search, an easy website search. Sometimes vendors will, or planners will have this behind their signature on their email, but you can take a look at their credentials. Another one that you want to take a look at is, what experience do they have? Because let's face it, in this day and age, credentials aren't everything. Not anything, they aren't something. They're not everything. So for example, my background, I have a degree, a bachelor's degree in event management and marketing. I then have additional professional development within my field. You will not see that in my signature. I am not a CMP, I'm not a CSE at this time, but the experience that I have and the experience that other planners have are something that you're going to want to take a look at. And again, in this day and age, sometimes we value experience over education. Again, those are things and those are decisions that, based on the facts, based on the information you collect, are going to be helpful in making the decision that you want to make. Is the experience relevant? This is a big one, because you want to know that if you are registering for a vendor event, that individual has done vendor events. You want to know what their success rate is in doing those vendor events. Now, again, I am not here to bash or negate anyone. I am definitely a proponent and a champion of startup businesses. I love to see new planners thrive. So everyone has to start somewhere, right? Everybody is going to have their first vendor event, and you can know that about that person and still choose to align and do business with them, as long as you know that with going in with your eyes wide open. Big one, referrals. What do past vendors have to say? Okay, if about this planner, okay, this is, at the moment we're talking about this event organizer, okay, you want to know, what is it like to do business with this individual? Are they cool as a cucumber during an event? Are they like a duck on a pond? You know things are going wrong, because at any given event, that is the reality. You know, we do what we can, and I always say, if I do my job properly, I have planned everything, and I should have absolutely nothing to do at an event except put out fires, and there will always be fires. Okay, you want to know what a vendor experience is with that organizer. Do they fly off the handle if you are a minute late? Do whatever it is. And all of this comes down to, does their business values, or do their business values align with yours, right? This is where that knowing someone, trusting someone, like attracts like, okay? And in your business, that's what you're going to want to do to breed the most success, to have the best event that you possibly can, is going to start with that event organizer. I have here, do they hold liability insurance? This is a small one. And I apologize, I jumped a little bit in my point form, but I was on a roll. Do they hold event liability insurance? As a business owner, and I see some of you nodding, this is something that you want to know. I hold event liability insurance, and I have since the day my company started, because I am a company, I am a business. And at the end of the day, if something were to fail in my risk management plan, if something were to happen, someone slips on ice outside of a venue, hurts themselves, and legal action ensues, that person is coming after everybody from the top down. Again, is this mandatory in helping make your decision? No. But is it something that you should be aware of when you're doing business with an event organizer? Absolutely. I also recommend when I'm working with businesses that it is something that they consider for themselves, depending on the type of events that they are doing. Okay, so tip number one, we're going to know who our event organizer is. Again, all of this can be done very quickly, probably in a 5-minute Google search or website search. The big one is with this one, if you trust somebody, if you want to trust somebody or get to know them, pick up the phone, call them, shoot them a text, a Facebook message, but open that line of communication before you even consider moving forward with your time on any given event. Any real organizer, whether it's an individual or a company, should be happy to answer these questions for you. Okay? Moving on. We're doing more research. Do your research. Okay. The event itself, we're talking specifically. Now you're going to take a look at probably the application form. You're going to take a look at, again, you're going to use those referrals of what people said. You're going to ask some of these questions of the event organizer. But you're going to want to know, and you should be able to find out quite quickly, what the purpose of the event is. So for example, if you're looking at a vendor event that is showcasing antique cars, you can probably guess the target demographic of individuals who are going to be attending that show. Now, if you're selling wedding jewelry, for example, I'm not sure how those two align, but that is for you to decide. Again, knowing the purpose of an event, who the target demographic is, will automatically give you either a tick or an X in the box of whether or not you are going to pursue further research on this. You want to know where it's being held. Again, we talked about whether or not this is 5 kilometers from your home, next door, or 100 kilometers away. There's no right or wrong answer, but you want to know where it's being held, how many vendors there'll be, sorry, I have a fly in my house, and what the policy is for having similar vendors. This is a key in the reason that you don't want 5, 10. I mean, that would be outrageous in my opinion, and that's just my personal opinion, but 5 to 10 similar vendors. Now, there are ways to go about this. If you're looking at a vendor event, a large one that's held at like something like the BMO or a convention center where there are 350 plus vendors, it's not going to be uncommon that you find a couple of insurance people, a couple, 10 jewelry people, furniture makers, massage therapist services, wine, food, beverage. But what you want to evaluate is that specific policy on similar vendors, i.e., especially for my MLM entrepreneurs, is there going to be another vendor with your company? Okay. You can make the best decision on that. However, I feel like this goes back to the event organizer. A strong event should have a strong vendor policy in place so that they can at least communicate that to you and you make the best decision from there. Or they take that decision away from you by setting themselves up for a successful event by saying, no, we will not have two of the same company within this vendor event. Projected attendance, and I do stress projected, okay? And an experienced planner or organizer, an experienced organizing company should have a projected attendance on their events. They should have that based on past events, past experience, and as well as the marketing strategies that they expect to have in place. Do not confuse this, please, with guaranteed attendance. For all of my planners and my organizers out there, for the best laid plans that we have, for all of the support that vendors will give in promoting this, for all of the support and sponsorship that the outside, community will provide, no one can ever guarantee you attendance. So I would say be leery if somebody does guarantee you that, even if they say that their numbers are being conservative. But projected attendance gives you an idea on what you can do with point number 3 that we're going to move on to in just a minute. Last thing that you're going to want to consider is what other events will be taking place at the same time. And within kind of that 50 to 100 kilometer radius. If you're at a vendor event, and I'm going to use my holiday market as an example. So Mrs. Claus Shop, which happens the first weekend after Remembrance Day here in Canada, always happens that weekend. Always comes up against two major trade shows that happen, or markets, because in the holiday season, everything's a market, comes up against Spruce Meadows as well as Millerville. I know that as a planner. My vendors should know that as they come into this. Again, it's not something that is going to make or break your decision, but it is something that you absolutely need to be aware of. And then you cross-reference that between projected attendance, the distance that you're going to travel for this event, etc. It also brings into play this whole idea of knowing your financials. Now, I've got my sassy Southern accountant here on the line, and I mean, this lady knows numbers. I happen to be a bit of a budget geek myself. I have always, always, always made this actually my number one priority. This is where you're going to get down to business. Okay, you're going to need to know what it will cost you and be very realistic about what you can earn. Because again, what I'm talking about tonight is return on your investment. We can look at that as lead generation. We could look at that as bookings, and that is an ROI that you will want to consider. But a true ROI, return on your investment, is a financial return. Okay? So you want to budget for event fees you're gonna budget for your event fees in your annual business plan. If you don't have an annual business plan, there are templates online. There are people like myself who can help you create one, but it is something that's very savvy, because in that annual business plan, we are going to show you how to budget for your operational costs, websites, advertising, your computers, your funky stationery in your office, things like that. And your events budgets are outside of that, okay? Never lump your events budgets in with your operational budgets, okay? Each event should have its own budget. And once you get good at this, once you know what your costs are going to be, you can easily tweak those for each event so that in 5 minutes, you should actually be able to do this off the top of your head. Maybe 10 because you've got the template, you're running the numbers in your head, and you already know the money that's coming in and out of your business and a general average of what's coming in and out of each event, okay? Again, at vendor events, these prices can range from free to your firstborn child. Free doesn't always mean best or best for you. Again, we're gonna have to take that back to projected attendance. We're gonna have to take that back to experience and experience of the event itself and its notoriety. But it's something that you have to take a look at. What is this event gonna cost you? And then you take a look at, in addition, in your expense category, you're going to write down that registration fee, and then you are going to take a look at what all of your other expenses are going to be. Now, the easiest ones are decor. How are you going to dress up your booth? How are you going to make it an inviting and captivating booth so that out of the 50, out of the 10, out of the 500 vendors that are there, people come to your booth? That's decor. That's your wow factor. You're going to have to take a look at inventory. What inventory are you going to need to have based on projected attendance, based on the packages that you are going to set up for this, based on the gifting that you want to give? But where I'm saying be specific is, what's it going to cost you to drive to and from that event? What's your mileage? What are your gas costs? Is there any maintenance on your vehicle? What are your food and beverage costs? Are you going to take a lunch? Are you going to eat and drink on site? Is there a social event, a networking event component that you're going to need to attend? And are there costs associated with that? These are the specifics, and that's not all of them. But what I need you to do is take a look at every single minute detail that you possibly can, and no detail in terms of a budget is too small. If you know that you're going to want to buy 5 vendors who you align with the most a drink after the event is over, put that in your budget. Line item everything so that you know exactly what your numbers are, so that you know exactly what it is that you are going to be spending to attend this. And then you are going to evaluate what you believe to be a successful return on investment. If I can leave you with one thing tonight, it is quite honestly, know your financials. And this will help you not only in your event world, it will help you in your business. Okay, evaluating what ROI means to you. Okay, like I said this a little bit earlier, I believe that you do want to see a financial return on every event that you do. I do not encourage vendors to eyes wide open go into an event with a financial loss unless their guarantee comes on future projected income. Something like lead generation, something like confirmed bookings. So if you're in network marketing, maybe that's 3 to 5 parties on your books. If you are a custom creation furniture designer, maybe that is 5 custom orders guaranteed with 50% deposit. Know what it is exactly you are going to consider that ROI if it is not 1 times or 2 times or 3 times that financial investment. Okay? Number 4, understand what you're entitled to. Okay? Entitled is a very, very big word. And this goes on both your behalf of safety, but also it's for your safety, but it's also so that there is no miscommunication in what you believe you're going to be getting out from this event. Okay, so you want to know what exactly you will get for your fee is what we're talking about. Okay, This is what an event organizer, what an event company will promise you, okay? And this typically comes in the application package. And guys, there should be an application package, okay? You want to know specifics like your booth size and location if it's available, okay? Location you will not always get, size you always should. It depends on the event organizer. Depending on where I host my events will depend on what my floor plan looks like, and I want to ensure for my vendors that no two vendors who are similar are in a similar vicinity. I also consider flow of traffic when I place my vendors and make my floor plan. Now, on the flip side of the coin, I have, colleagues who, when you go onto their website, they have their floor plan. They have their booth sizes, and you get to select that and you get to know exactly where you are. And that's brilliant too, because that gives you, as a vendor, peace of mind right off the bat that there are no surprises, or there should be no surprises, okay? It's not right or wrong either way, but these are things that you are guaranteed to by reading the application package. Furniture, fixtures, and equipment. FF&E is what I call it. You need to know whether or not you're getting your table, your chairs, your linens, your pipe and drape. Do you require AV, audio visual? Do you require power? Okay, all of this should be in the application package and the registration component of that. So either you get to pick it or you select that you want it. Okay, biggest one. How will the event be advertised? What media outlets will be used? Okay, and we have everything available to us from old school, and I say old school, I use it, print media, right? It can be newspapers. I know Kendra's laughing, she's up here with me. There's print media, there's newspapers, there's pamphlets, there's those door-to-door flyers. There's radio, there's television. Big one in this day and age is social media marketing, okay? You want to know that application package should say how they are guaranteeing that they will advertise. And here's a little tip, a little inside tip. Any of us good organizers we will put what we guarantee, but we will also put others as applicable and necessary, okay? How will you as a vendor be promoted? You want to know that. Will you be spotlighted on social media? What does that look like? Will you be lumped in with 50 other people? Will you be put on a vendor postcard that's going to be delivered door to door to 5,000 homes? Will you be named specifically on that radio advertisement and that radio campaign that they're doing? You want to know how you as a vendor will be promoted to make the best decision for you. Again, no right or wrong, but it's up to you to do your research and know what you're getting into. How and what communication will you receive from event organizers? Okay, we live in an online world at the moment. That being said, up until a year ago, I did the old, paper and scanning and photo submission of application, and I took e-transfers, right? Communication was via email solely, and that's how, I operated the trade show facet of my company. Things evolve, things move, things change. I now have online groups for each of my vendor events where I can contact them or communicate with them day to day, and whatever that is specific to that particular event and pertinent to that particular event. You want to know how your event organizer is going to be getting in touch with you. If you have a preferred method of communication, I would say that 90% of applications and registration forms that I have seen will have a notes category. If you have a preference, i.e., please do not contact me via phone, or I do not belong to social media, something to that effect, put those in the notes. The more communication and the more upfront information that you can provide an organizer will allow us to give you the best vendor experience that you can have, okay? this last one again. So I jumped the gun a little bit, but no, you are not entitled to a guaranteed attendance. I'm not going to beat a dead horse on that one. Just know that that is the case. On that note, I mean, as an event organizer, I have seen both sides of the coin, mass attendance and scary, shake my head, make me want to cry type of attendance. And it is not for lack of doing anything different or not from lack of trying or giving my best or my all. We just cannot guarantee it, okay? Lastly, understand what is required of you, okay? This tends to be one of the big ones as people break into markets that we tend to forget. Again, we always want to know, and sometimes we're very diligent at what we're entitled to. But as somebody buying into essentially a large partnership event to make it successful, there are requirements of you. So you should always know who you're doing business with and what their expectations are of you. Number one, they should be able to tell you this in your application. The time commitment. What is the time commitment? This should include setup and takedown times. For example, if it's a 3-day event, and I'll use Mrs. Claus again as an example because that's the event that I have coming up, and so it is very fresh in my brain at the moment. That is a 2.5-day event. We start setup at noon on Friday for vendors, and that is explicitly outlined in our event package. Load-in begins at noon on Friday. It is a required 3-day commitment, or 2.5-day commitment for those vendors, which means we don't load in new vendors each day. You must commit to the entire weekend, and load out does not commence before 4 p.m., which is closing time on Sunday. Load out may not occur. Those commitments should be set up in event package so that you know right off the bat what that looks like. Do you understand their refund policy? Okay, guys, I get it. Life happens. Life happens to me. And as a business owner, I expect it, right? I plan for it and I expect it, right? But as a business owner and as an event organizer, I have a clear refund policy based on what I know that I need to, number one, obtain to pay for the hard costs and the expenses of that event, to put it on so that other vendors and myself are not put in jeopardy based on last minute cancellations. But it also gives you the knowledge by me clarifying upfront my refund policy, whether or not that's something that you want to commit your funds to, okay? Some organizations will not have a refund policy. I don't know many, but know what those are. A typical refund policy will generally look like you will get a percentage of your registration fee back, usually about 3 months out. Because I can fill that position again 3 months out. But I've had hard costs and marketing costs and coaching costs invested in your application. It then usually drops to about a 50%, about 6 to 8 weeks out. And maybe at that 8-week out or 4-week out, nothing, 100%, okay? Those aren't standards. They are an idea though, okay? You will usually have a three-level incremental drop in your percentage. Do you require insurance? Good question to ask. If it's not on the application form, ask it. I know that for a lot of my events, I do not require my vendors or even some of my companies for my private clients to hold their own event liability insurance. However, I do know a ton of vendor events who do require you to have that. It's not them being mean. There are ways and there are companies that will give you by event insurance for reasonable prices. According to me, reasonable prices. And And you can turn around and find those. But what you don't want is to be finding this out last minute. Last winter, I had one of my vendors contact me, not for an event of my own, however, for an event that they were attending in 3 days' time, saying that the organizer had just called them and asked them for their insurance policy. Now, I will not pretend to know whether or not that was in their package or not, so whether that was a slip on the vendor's part or whether it was a slip on the organizer's part. However, if you ask the question up front, you are doing your due diligence to know what it is that you require. And insurance in any live event or business is, I mean, liability, it's the big L, right? Like everybody wants to know it, okay? Everybody wants to know if they're covered, okay? So whether you need it or not, totally different thing. But knowing whether you should or do need it, take that on yourself. Are you being asked for a door prize, a donation, additional time or services, like free services? And the big one is, are you expected to market and promote this event as well? And how? Okay, this may or may not be on the application form. This may or not be on the registration form. And I am going to assume that if you are joining me or watching this and have got to this point in time in the video, whether it's live or the replay, I am going to assume that you are strong enough in your business knowledge and in your business progression that you understand as a vendor at a vendor event, you have an obligation to support that promotion. And the reason is, yes, you are paying a registration fee. You are paying for a venue. You are paying for some marketing. You are paying for whatever furniture and fixtures are there. You are paying for somebody else to organize and bring people to that location. But, big but, right? 50 vendors, 100 vendors, 250 vendors promoting an event using their marketing budgets or their free social media connections, their mass network of people will always, always be better than one company doing it. I guarantee this. If you want to be successful at a vendor event, treat that vendor event like it is your storefront. And that's for the day or for the year or forever. Give everything you have leading into that event to let your network of people know that you are going to be there. Okay, I'm just going to quickly check the chat here. Okay, does that make sense? I'm checking the chat every once in a while. If you have any questions, please pop them in there. I will answer them at the end. I should have mentioned that at the beginning. I could probably do an entire masterclass on how to market and promote the event as a vendor. In fact, if you are part of one of my vendor events, you tend to get a lot of that in my groups for free, but it is a big one, right? And I will say, for any of my vendors on here, they can maybe chime in or reply in the comments if you're watching the replay. But those who have treated that vendor event as their storefront for the day and marketed it as such, this is where I'm going to be. This is where you need to be. These are the promotions that I'm having. You have to be here. It is going to be epic. I guarantee you that the ones that have done it wholeheartedly have seen success and a return on their investment far beyond those who perhaps haven't. Okay? Those are my top 5 tips, guys. I'm going to go back. You are going to want to know who the event organizer is. You want to do your research. This is all research, but do your in-depth research about the details of the event itself. You want to know your financials. Never go into anything blind. Know what's expected of you, and know what you're entitled to, and know what is expected of you. Okay? And with all of those 5 points, you can then make an informed decision. Again, guys, it doesn't have to take the 43 minutes that I have just taken up now. However, even if it did, so that you could maximize your ROI on the events that you specifically and with purpose select, would that not be worth it? Would that 43 minutes not be worth it to you? I guess I should say, would it be worth it to you? Okay? Do that. Do your homework, do your research, and you will go from this crazy, crazy lady, frustrated lady on the left, to this celebrating, dancing lady on the right. Okay? Thank you guys so very much for hanging in here. Thank you so much for joining me. I honestly, from the bottom of my heart, am so grateful for all of you who came on here live. I am so grateful to anybody who has watched 44 minutes of this on a replay. I hope that you have found tremendous value. Does anybody have any questions of this while I'm still live? I'm just going to pop into the chat. I'm going to give you guys a minute. Maybe not a minute, because I'm mindful of your time. Okay. What I want to share from here, I said thank you, but what I want to do as a thank you for joining me live tonight is, number one, I'm going to let you know that if you found value in this and have friends, colleagues, fellow vendors that you've networked with who you believe would find value in this, I'm going to be doing this again live in 2 weeks' time. Watch SVB Events Facebook page for the date, but 2 weeks' time we're going to be doing this all over again, and they can catch that live version again. For those of you who are on here live tonight, I have a special gift for you. If you would like me to take a look at the vendor events that you have coming up, the stack of vendor events that you are considering, I am going to offer to 5 people, the first 5 people who would like it, 5 people, 1 hour consultation to evaluate those for $50. Okay? That is, we will go over what probably looks like 4 to 5 of your top selections, and we will evaluate everything from the organizer to drafting a budget to reviewing that application package in detail and providing you questions that you need answered in order to make an informed decision. Okay? Thank you guys so very much. I am touched. Thank you so very much for joining me. Have the best evening, and I will see you online. All right, I'm going to stop the recording if I can figure out how to do that. Stop.